today. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
always fun because it's all the familiar faces. In fact, Sarah was here at 10 o'clock last night for Southeast Asia. So we're catching her. She's very dedicated. Yeah. But she was our Indiana representative last night and there's Catherine. Hey, I saw you RSVP. Good to it. Yeah, I mean, this is great because I get to see all these nice friendly, familiar faces every month. So good to see you guys. And many of you are familiar with Patty. You might have attended her session at CXM 360. And she has some excellent frameworks. We're gonna get started. Let me just grab here. So welcome to the roundtable. Oh, that's next month. Those of you that are new to us, we start with a 15-minute lightning round presentation on a specific topic from our presenter. You're going to be then put into teams. Today, we're going to put in 4 teams, and Patty's going to tell you a little bit more about that, how that's going to work. You're going to have the opportunity to review each other's work and identify the work that you'd like to learn more about, and then we'll have time for a group discussion. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Tom DeWitt. I'm the director of CXM at MSU and the academic program director for the master's degree in customer experience management, North America's first and only academic degree in customer experience management, and graduating its first class next week. So we're excited about that. We're joined today by Patty Soltis, the Senior Customer Experience Manager at Upwork, which I've learned a little bit more about in this past week. And Patty, you and I need to talk about that. But the focus of Patty's presentation today is on Compel Action. And before joining Upwork, Patty did some really interesting research across the industry with senior leaders, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to hear a little bit more about that at a later date. But Patty, welcome to the roundtable. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing if you want to go ahead and share your screen, and we're going to start the lightning round. You're on the clock.
I am on the clock. Okay, TikTok, here we go. Lightning round. Yeah. Share. And there we go. Okay, y'all should be able to see my screen right now. Can somebody nod?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Oops, now I just lost my notes. This lightning round is not going very well so far, but it'll get better. Nope, wait. That's not what I'm looking for.
I got hit. There you go. Perfect.
And there we go. Okay, I got it back. I had to move another window. Okay. So for those of you who were there in November at the CXM MSU conference, you just haven't been, I highly recommend that you go. It's an amazing conference, and I am very much looking forward to the next one coming up. But I did a 75-minute there on mastering C-suite alignment. I'm just going to go kind of over the bones of that from what we talked about at that, and then we'll get into the exercise, which is really all about storytelling and really getting compelling action once we get our story lined up. So the whole point of what I presented in November was about mastering C-suite alignment. We and CX struggle a great deal in trying to get people to listen to us and pay attention to us. I don't think we're all that different than a lot of other business units that are out there, but it is something that's very real for all of us. So one of the I recommend is that you look at the goals of your organization, you look at the goals of the departments and division you work with, and you're really trying to get that C-suite alignment that is coming with you. And whether it's C-suite or it's another division or area of the organization, it's really about building that piece of it. And I love this quote from Bruce Temkin. He had an open forum on LinkedIn at some point, and I asked him the question, and this is what he said back to me: is CX leaders need to figure out how their CX efforts will help those and other executives achieve their goals instead of trying to convince those execs they should care about CX. And that's how we get a seat at the table. So I think that's such a great quote, and it just kind of sets that mindset up for us to think about how are we aligning ourselves with the organization instead of the other way around. I think we always think to ourselves, well, without a customer, there is no business. I know I think that all the time. But really, our job is to help align with the organization. And there's a big reason for that, because this chart right here, this came out from Gardner in July of 23. And this chart shows you the priorities of CFOs and CEOs. And you can see at the top, we've got growth, workforce, and technology. And all the way down here at the bottom, that's where the customer sits. And because for years we've heard CEOs say the customer is the most important, the customer is the most important. Well, this is the reality right here of what it is. And so as we think about this and we think about what we do and how we're trying to prove our value, not our ROI, but how we prove our value to an organization, it's really figuring out how do we talk to those three things that we see there: growth, workforce, and technology. And fortunately, we can talk to all three of those things. As I did the research for this, I found this study from KPMG last year, and it shows how confident CEOs are in growth. And I've just read something this past weekend from McKinsey. Same thing. CEOs are still feeling very confident about growth, whether it's in their country, it's in their company, or really about the global economy that's happening. They're also really looking at priority number 2, which is workforce, really attracting and retaining talent. And 75% of US CEOs, they agree that a collaborative leadership style is going to enable greater success. Now, whether they walk the talk or not, that's a different story, but that's what they think. And 83% of CEOs say their organization's success, including growth objectives, depends on having that strong ethical culture. And that's from a Deloitte and Fortune study in 2023. So just something really interesting here. And also last week, I read this interesting article in Forbes, and it had a manpower study in it. And the manpower study found that 80% of recruiters are finding their jobs harder. Japan's the toughest one, but it's still tough in the US. US is saying 70% of recruiters are saying they're having a harder time finding people. They're having a hard time finding the soft skills, and they're having a hard time finding the technical skills. So this is that we can excel in, certainly with our employee engagement pieces that we can offer. And then lastly, there's the technology piece. And you can see CEOs are looking at technology, and they're saying that technology is going to bring increased profitability, increased product market growth, innovation, and fraud detection. And they're really looking for these things to happen. They're looking for AI to create that greater agility to help them manage strategic shifts and help them adapt at lightning speed. They need to adapt as fast as I can talk, I think. But that's what they're really looking for with this. And if we think about these three goals of the organization, the growth, the workforce, and the tech, the CEOs and the CFOs, they're looking for those dollar pieces. And that's what it is that we need to speak to. And I am always reminded of Harley Manning and during his time at Forrester. And I don't even know how many times I either heard him say this or I read him saying this, but he was very clear about it, that 1 in 4 CX executives will lose their positions and lose their areas because they aren't able to align with the goals of the organization. And that's pretty clear. And it's pretty alarming to think there's how many people? 24 people here. So that's 6 of us that will somehow be pushed away, pushed out, something like that, because we can't do that. And if you couple that with CX being stymied, with the customer sitting at the bottom of that priority list, it really is a tough piece for us to face and to move forward with. But if we can connect to growth, workforce, and technology, we certainly can make it work and certainly make it better. So if we look at growth, we have these 4 pieces of growth that we can offer. We offer acquisition of customers, we offer retention of customers, we offer customer lifetime value, and we also offer the ability to reduce expenses, increase efficiencies with the innovation and the things like that we can identify inside an organization. And to do that, we need to have a really clear, strong CX strategy. And the CX strategy can just be made up of these 4 pieces: a good value proposition, assessing the customer's needs, getting resources and using the resources that we have, and then looking at metrics and measures. And when we look at that value proposition, you can see right here, I put growth right at the middle of this. And I put growth at the middle because that's like such a great way for us to connect. And if we look at how we can connect in the categories that are growing, in the customer segments that are growing, and how we can do that in both the short term and the long term, and then we add in things like scalability, sustainability, milestones, improvement, timing, that's a great way for us to connect back to the organization, is that value proposition in there. Once again, I'm not talking about ROI, I'm talking about a value prop. It's funny, we don't necessarily talk about ROI with our customers, we talk about value propositions. I think it should be the same DX. Nonetheless, when we look at what resources we have, and there's tons more resources than I have on the sheet. And I remember when I was doing the workshop, people were just like shouting them out in the classroom that day. But we have a whole list of internal resources that we have. And I don't know about all of you, but we are so wealthy in data at Upwork that it's sometimes hard to figure it all out and put it all together. We have tons of it out there. We have great tech. We have insights, partners. We've got our human resources, people that we can work with, especially when it comes to that workforce piece and looking at employee engagement. And then we've got all these external resources. And I kind of used to joke that you could attend a CX webinar all day, every day. Like there's so many things out there that are available to us in all these different things that you have here. And, really looking at professional relationships. Who do we have as mentors? Who do we have as colleagues? How are we leveraging all those different pieces? And there's so many things that are out there for us to look at when we're thinking about what our resources are. Then it falls into this whole piece of assessing needs and how are we using our data, our analytics, and our insights. And like I said, I don't know about all of you, but my company is just a wealth in data and insights. We have so much available to us. So how do we take a look at all these pieces that are out there, the VOC, the customer journey maps, the segments, the purchase patterns, and then we start adding in the financial pieces, the revenue measures, wallet share, even looking at market share that can fall inside of that piece right there. And then how are we looking at retention and churn and acquisition? Those are just some really key pieces to look at when we're assessing what the needs are out there and how we're looking at, in some cases, how are we looking at the metrics and how are we looking at the qualitative data and bringing it all together. And speaking of metrics, we have a ton of company metrics that are out there. And for those of you who don't know, I spent 27 years in retail, and we used all of these metrics that are on here, but we also had certain metrics that were specific to retail. We had sell-through, we had dollars per square foot, we had items per transaction, we had average unit sale, we had a whole bunch of other metrics that we used. When I worked in patient experience, we had other metrics that we looked at. We looked at patient care. We looked at time that the provider spent with the patient. So those were other metrics that we were looking at. And even now in my work at Upwork, we have a whole other different set of metrics that are just specific to what we look at inside of our organization. So these are just some of the general ones, but you can think about what metrics are out there. And then what you want to do is look at those metrics and marry those metrics to all of these CX metrics that we have available to us. There's so many that are out there, and it's that marriage between the company metrics to our CX metrics, not the other way around. We are putting our metrics inside the space where the company metrics are, and we want to pull those things together inside of this. So as we're looking at this, and we're really looking at how are we contributing to growth, we're looking at that storytelling piece, because I think we're getting much better at that first piece. But Tom and I were having a conversation before everybody else came in, and we were talking about how many presentations we've been to where the person just goes, and I hope I'm not doing this, but just goes on and on and on. And you're kind of sitting there and you're asking yourself, what? So what? Now what? But that's the call to action. And each time we tell that story, we need that call to action, that what, that so what, and that now what. And as we do that, as we look at that, we're going to incorporate in our data. We certainly want to show versus tell. If we can give an example, that'll work so much better. So, I gave you the example of what Harley said earlier. We have how many people? 24 people in this room. So if 1/4 of us, that's 6 of us, that puts a visualization in your mind. That's like taking 2 lines completely out of all the people that are here today on the video screen. So that's crazy when you think about it, but that's the part we want to make sure we're showing and letting them know. We want to get things in the customer voice. And there's so many ways we can do that, whether it's through videos, it's through it's through quotes, it just in so many different pieces that we can put things together in that customer voice and really make it personal so people relate to it and understand it. And I always love this piece about having mini stories because it's one of the things that I find that people need to work the most at is when you're put in those situations where somebody's asking you a question about something, do you have that mini story ready to talk about? And make it relatable and make it so that it's something that's meaningful to somebody else. And that's kind of building like that elevator pitch. So you always have that prepared and you're always ready to grab somebody's attention. So when I look at this and break this down into, what really matters here, it's really looking at that storytelling piece and thinking to yourself, what's your attention grabber? What is it that's out there that you're going to use to grab somebody's attention? Then it's how are you going to evoke the emotion? How are you going to bring that voice to the customer in? How are you going to let that feel it? I just love this statistics from 2003. It's so old. But who was it? Gerald, I can't remember his last name, from Harvard, the Harvard professor. He said that 95% of our decisions are based on emotions. And that's that attention grabber that we need to, that's that emotion that we need to incorporate into that attention grabber to really get that in there in the second part. And then that third part is, so now we've got this information to them, what's going to be like that call to action? So that leads into the that we have today. And really looking at this piece and saying, what are those three pieces? And it's funny because Tom asked me at the beginning, he's like, people aren't going to be able to get through your Miro board. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's okay. The idea is to get that there are those three steps that we can pull together when it comes to storytelling. So I set up the Miro board. Tom, do you want me to share it or do you want to?
I'll go ahead and share it.
Okay. So I set up the
And
Miro board.
I didn't say they never would. I said how would. So you explain. Don't throw me under the bus. No, it's all good. It's all good.
I know, but you were right. I'm kind of
you're
throwing
good.
myself
You're
under the
good.
bus here.
No.
Because you were right.
In you, Patty. I'm confident in you. So let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
And
Let me stop sharing.
we're going to be, we'll be assigning you to four rooms. So you'll end up in one of these, and Patty will explain how this is going to work.
Yeah. So this is set up into 4 places. I thought about things that we face inside our organization and different ways that we support our organization when it comes to growth. And we support our organization when it comes to growth for product launches, when satisfaction is declining, when there's a customer segment that's growing, and when we're really looking at churn reduction, because we all know that it costs 5 times more to acquire a customer than it does to keep a customer. So we want to keep churn low. That's one of the reasons. Then you've got earned retention rate and a whole bunch of other pieces out there when it comes to churn reduction. But I set this up, and then you'll go into your breakout rooms and you can work together as a group. But think about, and once again, just this is not something, don't tax yourself too hard over this, but think about what would be that attention grabber that you would want to use for this. How would you want to bring the VOC in? Like, what kind of emotion would you want to evoke with it? And then what are the 3 things that they need to know? What's going to contribute to growth? What problem does this solve? And what action? Like, what is that call to action? Because that's ultimately what we're trying to get, is that call to action for them to understand more about the customer, to bring growth when these 4 different things are happening. I think I hit my 15 minutes, Tom.
No, hey, you're perfect. Right on. You're right on. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go ahead and create 4 breakout rooms. So if you end up in room number 1, then you're gonna go under product launch. If you're in room number 2, satisfaction, and so on. And don't be afraid. Someone take a lead on typing the information in the box, and then start at the top with your attention grabber and move down. And we will give you 15 minutes to work on it. So I'm gonna stop sharing here. I'm going to create the breakout and just take note of the room that you're in and gravitate under that area in the Miro board. Everybody ready? All right, let's go. Man, you guys are amazing. You are just blowing through that. So never underestimate the skills of a CX professional. Never. Well, we just told you can't so that you could prove us wrong. that was a motivational tool. So nice job. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share your handiwork. You guys did a great job. And then I'm just going to turn it over to Patty because Patty's got some questions. Hopefully each team has chosen a spokesperson. And I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. So Patty, go at it. What do you think? How'd they do?
I think they did, like, just looking at it, it looks amazing. And I hope you guys found this helpful to just put some structure behind that storytelling piece, because I think that's the part that most of us, myself included, struggle with, is how do we pull, like, there's so much information. How do we pull it together? How are we tying it back to those objectives? And how are we tying it back to everything that the organization's doing with everything that we've got? Because I don't know about you guys, I feel like I get information overload sometimes. But rather than start with group one, I'm going to do something unusual and start with group three. Do you just want to kind of walk us through what you've got? We've got what, maybe like 5 minutes each row, Tom?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So does somebody want to, from group three, want to just grab the reins and run with it and kind of walk us through?
Who wants to speak? Y'all want me to cover it?
There you go.
I think
Okay.
you volunteered yourself, Leslie.
So we are looking at growing a new customer segment with a potential to spend 20% more than they're spending today. So our hook is really just to put some financials around that. So we just said, hey, we can increase by $20 million customer lifetime value over the next 5 years if we do what we're asking you to do. So to tie this to VOC, we would really want to look at account health. Are they using the software? Are they happy? Are they responding to surveys? Are they engaged? Are they coming to user groups? Things like that. And another teammate of mine is also in software, so we do the same thing. So I guess that's why I'm thinking about software. So, in general, are they happy? So we got to take that position of what the customer has told us about their relationship if we want to have any opportunity to grow the segment. Next item. So how does it contribute to growth? It means that we will, sorry, am I looking at the right one? Hit our overall company revenue growth goal. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. The problem that it solves. Well, we didn't really have a problem other than we want to grow our revenue because this is an attractive new segment for us. So Patty, I just went right back to the stat that you shared. It cost us 5 times as much to bring in a new client versus growing that existing relationship. So let's really focus on the meat and potatoes of those relationships we already have and how we can grow them. So our ask is funding for the potential expanded offering and then a different support model to support those expansions. Did we get it right? Are we on the right track?
I don't think there's a wrong answer necessarily. I do have just a couple questions though. Up here in the top, you're talking about lifetime value. Can you put that in a more easy to I mean, that's like Arch could be easier for like somebody who maybe doesn't know what customer lifetime value is. Maybe instead say something like, this segment, just say it, this segment has the potential for a 20% increase, which translates to a $20 million increase for the organization. Like just even, I mean, just something even just simple like that.
Yeah.
And, you can take the customer lifetime value and educate them on it, but like, I would just zone right in on that, that $20 million, that's a significant number. Like I'm just a significant number for an organization, but that's a pretty substantial increase for an organization to hit with it, on that piece.
Gotcha.
But I
So
like that you
it's
came
the
up with that you
Americans.
made it numerical. Like that's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
That is. On the VOC piece, I was thinking as you were saying this, you can tap in. I mean, this is obviously going to be a happier group of customers because they're looking to grow. And those are always a little nicer and a little easier to work with than the grumpy ones. So that's one part of it. The other part of that on that VOC piece that I was thinking about is you're going to make your executives real happy. So there's almost a duality to the VOC on this one, in that you've got that piece where you've got a segment of customers that generally tends to be happier because they're looking to grow and you want to keep them in that happy bucket and so on and so forth with it. But, the other thing that you can tap into on this is you're generating income for the organ, a substantial boost of income for the organization, and you're going to make your executives happy.
Mhm.
So you've got, it's almost like a VOC slash, almost like a customer slash internal piece right there. That's kind of
Okay.
cool.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And the bottom part, like, I think it's just, I don't have anything to add.
All right. Team 3.
I think it's really good.
Mhm.
And I hope that that helps you kind of like pull that story together so that as you're talking, it kind of, like I said, gives you that structure for it. Yeah. So, okay. Let's see. I'm just going to pick somebody to go next. How about we go with group 2? This is a harder one.
I'll take this one because I was typing, so I
Oh,
probably
thanks, Catherine.
what was behind it. So what we chose to do for our attention grabber is we're going to assume we hopefully have some sort of benchmarking data on either how big of a drop this has been for us or what's happening with the competition. And so what we want to look at is how big that sort of where we were to where we are now gap was, and talk about our attention grabber is going to be like, okay, at the end of this quarter, at the end of this year, at the end of whatever, we know that drops in satisfaction translate into this much lost revenue. Like at the end of this year, we're going to be down $5 million if we don't fix this. I think that will grab attention pretty quick. And then what we would do next is show probably some sort of customer vignette. So these are going to be videos. These are going to be actually building empathy for the customer of what it's really like what is going wrong here. And we added sort of along that line, we might add in some competitive quotes of like our key competitor and how happy their clients are, just to build up more of the like, okay, well, we really want to address this. This is not where we want to be. We threw in here day in the life or experience immersion, but then we decided C-suite probably didn't have time to go through all of that with us in this particular exhibit or session. But we'd love to, if they give us the time, we'd do something there.
But Catherine, that's kind of cool because you're tapping into the pain that the customer's feeling, and you're tapping into that competitive spirit that our executives have.
Yes.
It's two great emotions to tap into.
Yep. We think by this point we have their attention. And so in terms of the things they need to know, we sort of were all over the board here, lots of ideas, depending on what the problem is. Like it's kind of hard to know, but they need to know what are the levers that are within control and what do we need to push on. Because, if it's just, well, the economy is really bad. Well, we can't fix the economy, but we can fix maybe the care and attention we give to relationships, that kind of thing. Where should we focus on now? Sort of what is the low-hanging fruit to start making movement here? We talked about
the quick wins that are out there.
Yeah. Yep. What are the efforts? So time, resources, money, etc. What's that going to take? But then we also wanted to add in sort of there's going to be a change management piece to this potentially. We need to know what are we going to look at, because there's going to be KPIs that come before just that satisfaction measure. What are the other things that are parallel pathing that, so we can watch those? But most importantly, the way we want to end is, what does it feel like for the customer when we address this? Like, what is a customer going to say and feel? And so that may be getting back to the way they used to feel, or it may be a vision for the future of what we're all trying to strive for.
That's a cool idea. I hadn't thought of that. That's a really cool idea to think about. Here's how they felt about us, and now here's how they feel it. Like, to go back and look at that feedback from a different time span.
Yeah.
When satisfaction results were better. Like that's a good idea. I love that. I'm going to do that, just so you know. That's a great idea to go back and look at that. And I like the idea of pulling the change management piece into it, because this whole thing that's here, it's all about the change management piece. And I love that you spelled it out inside of here. I think that's a really key piece inside of there. That efforts piece, that's a tricky one, because that can get like weedy. like just can get to be a lot of different stuff in it. So that's where that being really concise can just, this is what we need. This is what it's going to do. The result we're going to attain.
Yeah.
To really just bring that in. And I
Yeah.
like that you added resources into that because people forget about, especially the human resources component of it.
Well, and that was exactly the point with that one is if you think about this, yeah, everybody wants to fix it, but do we understand what commitments are required to fix it? Are we all aligned that we're willing to commit those at this point? Because there's probably like gold, silver, bronze efforts you can put at this. And depending on what those resources, money, whatever, what that is, you might decide, hey, I'm willing for this to take longer, but it's going to take less people time, or I'm willing to commit everything for the next 30 days to fix this problem. I think you need to lay that out for people and then gain alignment on what's our plan.
Yeah. Yeah, like have a hunker down kind of session maybe, or like what's it going to take?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so I see group 1 has typed a few extra things in here. So I'm going to let you guys have another minute to just keep looking over what you guys are putting in. And let's go to group 4 with churn reduction. This one's hard. I'm just going to say that straight up to group 4. I'm sorry, because you had the hardest one. This is hard. So I'm not sure who the lucky spokesperson is.
I don't think that's why we didn't get all of it finished, but I appreciate it.
This is hard.
We actually had a lot of really great conversation. We just didn't get it all put on Post-its, funny enough.
That's okay, Matthew.
The attention grabber we really thought around is especially when we're talking about churn and sort of losing those customers. If we do nothing, if we don't correct this, we're going to lose X number of dollars over X period of time, like really calling out the urgency and need of taking corrective action on this. If we do nothing different, here's what we stand to lose. Around the bringing in the voice of customer, we recognized that we did need to bring our customer's voice in, but we didn't necessarily need that just to be NPS. We didn't want to identify just a single point, so we wanted to take a bit of a three-pronged approach. We wanted to take a comment that kind of articulates what we were seeing, but pairing it up with operational data and touch point feedback that really allowed us to highlight where we saw this churn coming from. 2 out of 3 customers don't return after facing this specific issue with us. So really kind of highlighting from an operational standpoint what we're seeing, and then connecting it to like a personal comment that talked about how somebody felt. And then under things we felt they needed to know, we kind of struggled a little bit with this part, kind of going back and forth around, are we talking about the solution here? Or are we talking about the resources we need to find the solution? Because it may be preemptive to say that we have the solution. But we talked about identifying how correcting it impacts the most profitable segment. So like having some additional data about where we would start looking and digging in, and then looking at showcasing some of the positive that can come through taking certain actions with that segment, and some of the data that we have that shows those positive changes if we apply the right lever.
You have a whole bunch of things in that one.
I do.
You've got all 3 of them. They're just all in one square.
We wanted to condense, I guess.
Yeah. That's cool. Here's that first one. I love that you said that if we do nothing, we're going to lose X dollars in 5 years. You've got like a 1, 2, 3 with that one from a financial standpoint, because you're going to lose X amount of dollars. And then for every customer you gain, you have to gain this many more customers to compensate for those customers losing. And then because it does cost more to acquire, I still don't know if that 5 times more is still an applicable thing because it's been around for so long. But you can also have an expense saving with this churn reduction. So you've got 3 really strong financial metrics that you can hit them with inside of this piece, which I think is great. And you guys are just tapping right into that part of it. And I love in the emotion part, you're just going to go right for the pain. Just let them feel the pain.
It hurts. They're leaving. That's not what we want.
Hurt. Yeah, I'm taking a group tomorrow, a group that I work with tomorrow in my job. I'm taking them through the process of what it actually, when our client is doing that particular function, I'm actually taking them through. This is what that looks like. So I can't get a customer to do it, but I sat down and I recorded the whole thing. So they're going to see all the pain points of exactly what that is, because, you know, it's the best way to let them. I like that you're tapping into that piece of it right there. And, you know, I wanted to say, and when you got to this pink section here, you brought up something really important, and that is that, you know, I don't think we always have to know all the answers to what we're doing, but we have to know where we can tap into to get the answers, to get the collaboration, to drive that change management piece. Because I think if we walk in knowing all the answers all the time, we kind of come off a little different than if we walk in and we're like, look, we're here to collaborate, we're here to align, we're here to be part of the solution to this, you know, problem I'm bringing you. So I like that you were identifying that in that part.
Yeah, and Patty, hi, this is Simone.
Hi, Simone. How are you?
Very good. It's great to be here with you. One thing that I was part of this group and we mentioned, I think it helps building trust with that C-level executives is to identify, it may not always be present, but identify that counterexample. If that is one segment of customers or one type of transaction where we have the opposite happening, where we are doing something well and that is returning as increased business or more share of wallet, use that as the counterexample. So we have the proposition here, which is, yes, churn is bad and it's going to make us lose money. However, here is the reason to believe that we can do it differently, because in certain segments we are doing it right, and that is translating into the kind of benefits that we like to have. So that was also part of our discussion.
Here's what I'm going to say, just do what Simone said. It's spoken just like someone who's getting ready to graduate from the program. That was perfect. All right, group one.
I can take group one. So we had a product launch with new features. And so probably the easiest way to visualize this is, let's pretend it's like a new thermostat with like new features. And so the attention grabber was to relate back to the company's, you know, key objectives of OKRs. And so one way to do that would be through storytelling, through, you know, with this new thermostat and upgraded features, we'd be able to increase our market share by 10% in the thermostat market, and we'd improve our NPS of the users that do have that with this upgrade. To help sort of bolster the reasoning why, we'd use VOC. So we could use product reviews from our current, you know, thermostat products, or what are competitors doing, or what is the base of customers that are wanting this new product upgrade. Things that we would want the C-suite to know was just how the percent of customer base that would benefit from this new product. Is always helpful to, I think other groups have said that, is what are the right now, the just do, sort of the low-hanging fruit. So what are the steps that are needed now? What do we plan for next? And what do we need to put in the budget for future enhancements, so it doesn't seem so ominous to move forward? Other is exposing the pain points, like I said, using VOC of, you know, if we don't do this, this is the experience for the customer. And then also how it could impact the customer sentiment and improve that.
You guys did an amazing job in your green right there, because you have your attention grabber inside there too. You've got a little bit of both going on in there, and I love how you connected those two things together, because you're quantifying it with your percent of the user base, and then you're just bringing that emotion right in with it. So that was really smart.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like a lot with this. And you guys are also the only group that brought in sentiment, which I think is interesting. And I'm sorry, could you tell me again, you're talking about how sentiment would impact the company goals?
Yeah, and you know, you think about improving customer sentiment, improving word of mouth is going to improve sales, increase sales, and increase market share, you would think, if you can improve customer sentiment.
You guys could tie into growth with that too, with retention. And
Yeah.
how much how much more that retention will bring in dollars back to the organization.
Good point.
You guys got, I mean, this is amazing. Tom, I don't think there's a winner. I think they're all just fantastic.
So they all get the prize? Should we tell them what the
They all
prize
get the
is?
prize. You tell them what the prize is.
How about free admission to the master's degree program? Admission. Not tuition, but I can't afford that.
I
Well,
thought for a
I'm
second
happy
you were
to-
going to the I thought for going for the free attendance at the MSU conference in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Well, I am very proud to say though that some of our students are represented in the group today. Some of the more clever ones. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways. Well, great. No, beautiful job. This was fun. Let's all give Patty a hand. Nice job, Patty.
Wow, thanks. Everybody else did all the
Definitely one of
work.
our-
I got here and got to enjoy your company for a bit. So, and
No,
it's
this was
and I
great.
see so many familiar faces here too. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of students, yeah, a lot of regular attendees. So I'm excited to share that next month we're going to have James Killian. Those of you who don't know, James until recently headed up the employee experience practice at Qualtrics, and he teaches the employee experience course and the masters in the MSc CXM program. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here. Alistair will be here. I'm going to be on a cruise ship in Alaska. I'll miss you guys. I'll be thinking about you. Wish you could join me there, but that's going to be my little prize to my wife for putting up with me throughout the master's program. So she'll get to enjoy that. Look forward to seeing some of you guys next week at commencement. But we will see you guys next month. Thanks again. And Patty, thanks. That was fantastic. You're amazing. Just amazing. Let's give Patty a hand. Yay. All right. Thanks, Patty. Brilliant. That was fun. A lot of fun. Nice work. Take care, guys. Have a good one.